Hi everyone, today we're going to continue our discussion about imperialism. We're going to be focusing on Asia for the next couple days, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Sepoy Rebellion in India. This is just a map that I wanted to show you. I don't know if you can see the green territory, but that is labeled as English territory in 1785. The other colors are areas on the map and areas in the region where Britain eventually acquired that land, really expanding their influence and kind of epitomizing that country that's practicing imperialism. And I just wanted you to get a visual here of where we were and how aggressive the British were in kind of coming after this little peninsula that we'll talk about today, which is India. In the 1600s, the British East India Company set up many trading posts in a few major Indian cities. Jumping ahead 100 years, in the mid-1700s, the Indian dynasty that had ruled was now collapsed, and the East India Company took advantage of this, and they basically took over India with their own private army. What we've been talking about is how people are looking for raw materials, and England in particular had just experienced this industrial revolution, and they required a large amount of raw materials, and India was providing that to them. There were 300 million people there, and that was also a great market to sell back their goods for and earn their profit. Unfortunately, there's quite a few negative results of imperialism for the Indians in India. Britain did not allow these Indians to manufacture goods for themselves, and they only had to buy British goods. And this is really significant because countries that were imperialistic were largely economically driven, and you could create a good, you could make a good, and Britain would sell it back at a very high price. So the trade restrictions really had an impact on what the people of India could and could not buy. The British also did set up a railroad network, but it was really only to transport British goods. In 1857, the Sepoys, which were Indian soldiers in the British Army, rebelled. Now, there were already feelings of resentment towards the British for their control and their poor treatment of the natives. And the rebellion broke out over this kind of like greasy lubricant that was used on a bullet for a rifle that people needed to bite off. So I just wanted to show you this map as well. If you see in the orange area here, this is the area of the Sepoy Rebellion. And you can see the other areas are areas that the dark green are areas that British had controlled by 1805. And you can see in 1857, we've really got now Britain expanding their control quite heavily in the region. So by 1857, the British Army in India included a large number of Indian soldiers, or sepoys. The rifle cartridges that were distributed to the sepoys had to be bitten to remove a cover before they were inserted into the gun. Now, rumors started circulating among the sepoys that this cover had been greased with beef and pork fat. This angered the Muslim sepoys, who were not supposed to consume pork, and the Hindu sepoys, who were not supposed to eat beef. And this really caused a tremendous issue and conflict. This was the Enfield rifle that we've been talking about that the British are using, this is the cartridge would be put into this weapon. So sepoys that refused to use the cartridge were ultimately jailed, and the next day the sepoys rebelled. The fighting lasted for over a year, and finally the East India Company regained control. And after that point, as we've seen in the maps, the British government was much more involved in controlling India because obviously they could not have these people rebelling and revolting all the time. So there are a couple effects of the Sepoy Rebellion that you need to know about. So the Sepoys revolted against the British Army, and it eventually ended the conflict through the use of force. So this resulted in the British government officially taking control of India, as we've seen in the maps, and making it a colony. Some people also view this as the first act of Indian independence, which would not be achieved until after World War II, and that happens with the formation of the countries of India and Pakistan. So we're really talking here about an event that could have been influenced by those Enlightenment ideas. They could have seen other revolts take place that were successful, and now this is a country that will be moving from a colony into an independent state, but not, as I've said, again for some time. So if you remember back to our story that we read in class today, from The Greatest War Story Never Told, this is a picture, and quite a brutal picture, of what the British soldiers would do to the sepoys, kind of tying them to the cannons, and the Devil's Wind, where they would shoot the cannonball through their bodies, trying to prevent them from having like this afterlife that they felt really strongly about and connected to. So this is just, I know we were having a hard time visualizing that. I just wanted you to have a picture of that. And today, before you finish taking your notes, on your Cornell notes, I'd like you to just do this in the notes section. I'd like you to draw a picture or a scene that will help you remember the Sepoy Rebellion. You do not need to be an artist to do this. You do not have to have like fabulous, beautiful scenes. You can use stick figures, but I really just want you to take a second right now and draw a picture in this space that will help create and cement an image about the Sepoy Rebellion in your mind. In addition to your notes, I am going to be looking for the picture in your notes tomorrow, so please make sure that you have that. Additionally, we will be taking a look at the Sepoy Rebellion in greater depth using some primary source documents. So if you have any questions, hopefully they'll be answered during class tomorrow. If not, feel free to come up and ask or raise a hand. And I hope you'd enjoyed listening to this lecture.